September 11th, 2001, a day that is ingrained in the minds of all Americans. 9/11 was the day in which 2,977 people were killed in the deadliest terrorist attack in American history. It was 8:45 a.m. American Airlines Flight 11 crashed into the North Tower of the World Trade Center in New York City. The 76 passengers and 11 crew members on board were killed instantly. As news teams rushed to the scene, desperate workers trapped above the 91st floor in the North Tower began jumping from windows to try to escape. Then, amidst a live news broadcast, something even more unbelievable occurred.
So you have no idea right now?
There's another plane just hit.
Another plane, United Flight 175, crashed into the World Trade Center's South Tower. All 51 passengers and 9 crew members on board were killed instantly. At 9:05 a.m., President George Bush was told about the hit on the second tower. He had been reading with students in an elementary classroom in Florida. At 9:37 a.m., Flight 77 crashed into the Pentagon. This plane penetrated 3 of the 5 rings that make up the Pentagon. The crash killed the 53 passengers and 6 crew members on board. It also killed 125 civilians and military personnel who were working inside the Pentagon. At 9:45 a.m., the president ordered that all U.S. airspace be shut down. All civilian aircraft were ordered to land immediately. Back in New York, emergency personnel began rushing to the scene. The South Tower burned for 56 minutes, then it fell. The collapse instantly killed hundreds of civilians and emergency personnel. The North Tower burned for 102 minutes before it, too, fell. As these events unfolded on live TV, Americans were stunned. It was hard for them to believe that any evil could touch America, the greatest country on earth. 10:18 a.m. Believing that Flight 93 was still in flight, President Bush ordered authorities to shoot it down. What he did not know was that Flight 93 had already been taken down by American heroes. The 33 passengers and 7 crew members on Flight 93 realized that they were under attack by terrorists. They stormed the hijackers and crashed the plane down into a field in Pennsylvania. Those brave Americans stopped Flight 93 from reaching Washington and taking the lives of even more people. At 8:30 p.m., President Bush addressed the nation.
America was targeted for attack because we're the brightest beacon for freedom and opportunity in the world. And no one will keep that light from shining. Today our nation saw evil, the very worst of human nature. And we responded with the best of America, with the daring of our rescue workers, with the caring for strangers and neighbors who came to give blood and help in any way they could.
The attacks killed not only the innocent people on the planes, but also the employees within the buildings. Many first responders, such as firemen, paramedics, and police officers, also lost their lives while attempting to save the lives of those hurt. After much investigation, it was determined that the 9/11 attacks were planned and carried out by an Islamic terrorist group known as Al-Qaeda. Osama bin Laden was the leader of Al-Qaeda. Bin Laden had carried out the attacks in response to the United States' support of Israel. He also did not agree with the U.S. troops who were occupying parts of Saudi Arabia. President Bush and subsequent presidents were determined to make bin Laden pay for his crimes. On May 2, 2011, President Obama was proud to announce that the U.S. Navy SEALs had found and killed al-Qaeda leader Osama bin Laden. The 9/11 attacks had a profound effect on all Americans. They reshaped the way Americans felt about their safety. Today, Americans do not feel invincible. They are more fearful of what can happen on American soil. 9/11 also made our leaders less willing to deploy American ground troops to foreign countries for lengthy combat missions. Finally, the 9/11 attacks greatly increased the safety precautions that are taken in airports and in many public buildings. Even though the 9/11 attacks happened over 20 years ago, we, as Americans, must never forget them. They are a significant part of America's history. As President Bush said,
"These acts of mass murder were intended to frighten our nation into chaos and retreat. But they have failed. Our country is strong. A great people has been moved to defend a great nation. Terrorist attacks can shake the foundations of our biggest buildings, but they cannot touch the foundation of America.